I don't need to say sorry, Carter. What do I say? Like, yes, Carter?
Yes, Carter.
Welcome to My God Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I preview Georgia's matchup with Florida in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. We talk through what we're looking for in the game, and we answer questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out the newly redesigned MyGottaPodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at MyGottaPodcast. Finally, we'd love for you to check out our presenting sponsor, Oxia Time, at oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. JP, cocktail party week.
I like your hat.
I like your hat. Shout out to Josh. Shout out to Dog Stats. Hey, and we ended up with the different colored ones too.
I know, right?
I feel like we're hearkening back to like season 1 of My God a Podcast when we met Graham and Josh and swapped hats.
Amazing. I kind of wish that we'd have a blackout though, so that I had this is like my blackout hat.
Oh, okay.
But it's also my hat for Florida Week.
Yes. I actually So this shirt, I don't know, like Fletcher Proctor, if you're listening, watching, if you check on the YouTube, probably has this shirt. So this is a Georgia basketball
Beat Florida. Nice.
Florida shirt from the Jim Herrick days back when we were in school. So sporting that one tonight. So shout out Fletcher, UG Hoops Mafia, all those who like the hoops.
All the hoops foops.
So did you bring you got a beverage?
I'm gonna make a cocktail actually live.
Oh my gosh, John, hold on. As we agree, it's time.
Mine's gonna be a little bit easier. Okay. I've got the Woodford Reserve old fashioned the Woodford Reserve old fashioned syrup, so I will not be shaking anything. Unfortunately, I can't hear you shaking. I
muted my microphone. Should I let it go? Here, let's see if we can.
You should absolutely. I can't hear it.
Yeah, it's getting muted out.
Unfortunate.
So I've gone with the John tweets. Shout out to John, Bulldog Bourbon Social Club. So I went with the revolving door.
Ooh, we're taking it from the weekend, eh?
Yeah, just keeping it going.
I probably should be doing that because of my throat, but
this was the cocktail that was kind of my entry point into bourbon. So yeah. So what? Maple syrup, lemon juice, and rye. I'm using the Sazerac rye, by the way.
Ooh.
So got that.
The Sazerac. Well.
Yeah.
So I'm making my old fashioned with the Isaac Bowman port barrel.
Okay.
Gives it a little bit of a little flavor.
Too funny.
Gotta stir it up.
And I don't know if anyone will believe us or not, but we didn't even plan
that. We did not plan that.
Yeah, and speaking of joining the conversation in progress, we've been talking for how long and still hadn't even talked about that. All I know is the podcast before the podcast was bumping tonight. Definitely multiple, oh man, we should have been recording moments, so my bad. Cheers.
Yeah, I had to, cheers. We had been chatting for so long that I had to go and grab a new cube because it had melted down too much.
Okay, so I'm using these like small ice spheres. Like the miniature ones. They're the ones that I think I told you about that my mom, like I commented on their ice like Memorial Day weekend, I think, at like Hartwell. And then like when I got home, my mom had sent me the ice mold or the ice tray, I guess, through Amazon. I was like, Mom, I wasn't saying you had to buy it for me. Like I was just I like the ice. So I'm using these little mini ice spheres.
That's awesome.
Okay. So anyway.
I like your ice spheres that you have. But cheers, yeah. I've just got the classic clear cubes I've made from the igloo process.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I saw totally off the rails already.
It's the cocktail party. What were you supposed to do?
I saw a device that they were trying to charge $600 to make clear ice cubes. And
yeah.
It was basically like I only made 4. It was basically like if you took that ice mold that your dad, that Lou has, like the fancy mold that makes 4 or whatever cubes, and made it into a machine where all you did was pour the water in, and then it just like created them for you. 4 ice cubes in 10 hours for $600. I had to laugh. I just had to laugh.
Amazing. Let's see. I had two, I guess, kind of announcements before we jump in. We can hit quickly. One is Missouri kickoff time. So that did get announced today. So Georgia, Missouri, 3:30 next weekend on CBS. So it'll be the early game in a CBS doubleheader. They've got Alabama LSU at night.
I saw John had mentioned that they were going to cap out their contract with CBS or something like that. Has that ever happened? At least for us?
Yeah, usually not for us. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because I think it's you could only be on CBS like 5 times a year. I think I saw someone say that there's like a waiver or something. I saw somebody else was like, it's the last year. Do they really care anymore? Maybe they'll just do what they want.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, by the rules, I think technically Missouri should be the last time we're on CBS. That's my understanding. So we'll see. We've already hit the limit. And then the other thing was the Friday before the Missouri game. So there's going to be a thing at the Foundry Friday night, home field homecoming. So this has been set up through Dog Central. So Graham Coffey will be there. Alex Kirshner is going to come out and moderate like a panel for like a live podcast recording through Dog Central in the evening. So it's from 5 to 10 at the Foundry. We'll put the info in the show notes. You do have to register if you want to attend, but I'll definitely be there. I know Graham's going to be there. John Tweets will be there. George Foster is going to be there. So it'll be a good time. A lot of fun with a bunch of folks from Dog Central. JP, I know you're up in the air if you're going to be up there that weekend or not. We'll see. We'll try to keep glasses on it.
We'll try.
But but head on out there. It's going to be sponsored by Home Field Apparel. They're going to be out there. You'll be able to get deals on the home field gear while you're there, and then come hang out, have a beverage, and talk some football. So that'll be fun.
Super jealous if I don't get to go. Take pictures.
We'll do. Although, as we've learned, I'm good at taking pictures, bad at sharing them with people. I think I finally sent the balance of my pictures to you and Chris. So sorry about that. I feel kind of like, we had the bye week, but we had like so many guests. It's, back to us again.
We were the hardest working podcast in UGA fandom.
Holy
this
cow.
past week. Better never rest, Jim.
Better never rest. I know we got the end of the week and you're like, man, that was like a busy off week.
We're already there.
So if you haven't checked it out, I think there's some pretty like evergreen type episodes. So we had British Bulldog again. We had the first of our player interview series with the Oxia Time Ambassadors through Classic City Collective with Tate Radledge. So more to come there. Keep your eye out for that. And then I also had our buddy Dwight to talk about Bulldogs battling breast cancer for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which again, go hop on the points pledge. Anything you can do there is helpful.
Sorry, I missed out on that one.
Yeah, I felt bad that I asked your question. I did ask what's your Georgia story? So sorry, John.
No, it's a great question. If I'm not there, it's fair game.
All good. All right, well let's run down the matchup. So 3:30 kickoff on CBS. JP, the last cocktail party on CBS. Kind of weird. Like, pour one out for the cocktail party on CBS.
Pours one out. Kind
of weird. So at what is now called Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville, the Dogs come in 7-0, 4-0 in the conference. The Gators are 5-2, 3-1 in the SEC. So currently only 2 L's in Florida right now, John. Dogs ranked 6. Fair. Dogs are number 1 in all the polls. The Gators are not ranked. The official hashtag is #UGA versus FLA. So I like that. I wonder if like when Florida puts out their notes, if they have it reversed, like, are there 2?
Funny. But then that wouldn't be the official game.
I know.
It wouldn't be the official hashtag.
I know. So according to Twitter, it's Georgia, Florida.
We need to watch Gator. We need to watch Gator Twitter and see like if they tweeted on. See,
exactly. So let's see. All-time series. The Dogs lead the series 55-44 with 2 ties. Or do they? A little foreshadowing there, John. And last time we played these guys, we beat them 42-20. The weather looks pretty nice. High of 82. It should hit the high between 2 and 3. Low of 67, but that's like in the morning. Should still be in the 70s by the time the game is ending. So for those of you that are heading down to Jacksonville, looks like a beautiful day. All right, JP. I'm gonna turn it over. I'm gonna yield to you. Do you have any fun facts? What do you got for us this evening?
I do have some history, but I also do have like some random fun facts, like not necessarily like football related.
Okay.
Do you know why it's called Jacksonville?
Oh my gosh. Should I? I don't.
No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. I have no idea.
I don't think we discussed this last time.
Okay.
It's actually named after Andrew Jackson, who was originally the colonists. He was in charge when Britain, well, technically it wasn't Britain, but when Spain ceded control to the United States for the state of Florida. So long history. Actually, Jacksonville was a pretty important part, not only for Spanish American trade, but also like Native American trade. The Native Americans that lived in that territory utilized that bridge crossing that entire territory there for they traded cattle and all kinds of stuff. But that's where they would ford the river and things like that. So anyway, Jacksonville itself was named for Andrew Jackson.
Did not know that.
In years past, and before the United States was a thing, Spain and France kind of warred in that territory. It was kind of split in half or whatever. But over time, Spain won out. They controlled the territory, and then Britain came in. And when Britain lost, they gave it back to the Spanish. Then wars continued to happen, and as part of the Paris Treaty, they gave the territory back to the United States and named it after Andrew Jackson, who ended up becoming I think he was the 7th president. So a little bit of history there. That entire, there's an entire road that goes from basically St. Augustine all the way north into Georgia. They called it the King's Road, which was a big part of that whole area where we play the game in. It used to be called the King's Road.
Nice. See, informational and educational. My God.
Yes. Yeah. But speaking of history, and you kind of alluded to it, we do have some visual artifacts. If you are a watcher on the YouTubes, I'll try to tweet it out, or I will. So we do, as Jim likes to say, it's not really a rivalry unless you disagree on the record, on the matchup. And Jason Hasty, the Hair Grit Library, he provided us some information on this was the first matchup, right?
Yes.
Between Georgia and Florida, and it is all the way back. And again, this just goes to the whole conversations that you and I have had over tradition and what tradition means in this sport and in this conference. This rivalry dates back to 1904 for us. And I say for us, but it dates back to 1904 for us. So the 1904 Georgia football team was not very good, Jim. They were coached by former Harvard guard Charles Barnard, who only lasted one season in Athens. The Georgia team posted a record of 1 win and 5 losses. That one win, though, was the start of a bitter rivalry between Georgia and Florida. So bitter that the two schools don't agree on the overall series record. And this is all from Jason Hasty. Sorry if I didn't preface that. Jim, I think he's got some news articles that Jason sent us from I believe the Banner Herald, maybe the AJC. I can't remember which one they were from, but sorry, Jason.
It was what eventually became the Banner Herald. I think it was just the Banner back in 1904, I believe.
Right. Okay. So they don't agree on the overall record. On October 15th, 1904, the Georgia football team, many years from being nicknamed the Bulldogs, met a team from the University of Florida in Macon, of all places. Georgia defeated Florida 52-0. I feel like it should also be noted that Florida actually didn't score a single point in their entire 5-game season. I think they were outscored 225-0, which just kiss. And I believe we also have a picture of the actual 1904 team, which I want to point out. I do want to point out that the team photo there features a I would say it's an OG Power G, right? Like it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I love this photo. This photo is just old school football, and it's actually got a G in it, which I think is great.
I am attempting to zoom in. We'll see how this plays. But we've got the young man with the old block G on his jersey, we'll say.
Yes, you love to see it. You love to see logos, uniform Twitter, geek out. Okay, so the University of Florida contends that the team that Georgia played on that day wasn't actually from the current University of Florida, but was from an earlier iteration of the school that had begun as the Florida Agricultural College and had only recently changed its name to the University of Florida. So again, we're playing the Florida Ag is who we're playing this weekend, guys.
Yeah.
The version of the University of Florida that Georgia played that day was from Lake City. I'll get to Lake City in a second. Approximately 50 miles north of Gainesville. The Florida legislature reorganized the state's institutions of higher education in 1905, consolidating several schools and moving the University of Florida from Lake City to Gainesville. Whatever administrative reorganization took place in 1905, no doubt the Georgia team played a team from the University of Florida. The Athens Banner, a predecessor of the Herald, Banner Herald, which Jim already mentioned. It mentioned on October 14th that the University of Georgia football team, accompanied by Coach Barnard and Colonel E.L. Griggs, leaves this afternoon over the Central of Georgia Railway for Macon, where they will meet the University of Florida 11 for their game. Mm-hmm. The refusal of University of Florida to recognize this game is no doubt appropriate for the point of view, even though few outside of Floridians and students of history and higher education in the South are likely to make the distinction. I do have to wonder, however, if Florida's position is based partly on the lopsided score of this game. Again, they're trying to disavow the 1904 football team altogether again because they were outscored 225-0. Which incidentally, also included a 77-0 defeat by John Heisman's first Georgia Tech team, which is kind of another, state of Georgia history fact. First game was recognized as valid by both universities, took place on November 6th, 1915 in Jacksonville, Florida. So there you go, history buffs. It didn't start as a home and home. It was always a neutral site game.
Yep.
Georgia won that meeting 37-0. Florida wouldn't score on Georgia until it lost a 32-9 contest in 1926. Florida wouldn't win its first game in the series until it recorded a 26-6 victory over UGA in a game played in Savannah, of all places, on November 10th, 1928. So we got a lot wrapped up in there, Jim.
Yeah.
You got, history on history there. How awesome would it be to play this game in Savannah or Macon of all
Macon,
places?
dude, Georgia, Florida, and Macon is crazy. So just remember this when I rattled off the series history and I said it's 55-44-2 on CBS, they're gonna say 54-44-2, would be my guess. And so when you're like, Jim and John, what were you talking about? That's why that 1904 game. So they claim we were playing Bizarro, Florida, I guess.
Bizarro, Florida, yeah. I guess they allow the two schools to kind of agree before they actually put it on the broadcast. I wish they would talk about that. Jason, we need to work on
that. Amazing. Yeah. Shout out Jason Hasty, the unofficial official historian of My God Podcast.
Amen. God bless you, Jason. These were amazing. I appreciate it.
So the best was today. I had you sent me the picture first, and I was like, uh-oh. I was like, Jason's email came in. I went to my email. I was so excited. That's too funny.
It's like Christmas. It's like podcast Christmas morning when we get Jason's email.
Exactly. Incredible. All right. You ready to move on to?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Okay. So news and notes. So I hit the game time stuff earlier. I watched Kirby's press conference. Only thing I'll say there from Kirby, no, he didn't give any hopeful kiss of deaths. That's the thing I noticed he got some questions around, health and timetables and, timetable for Brock Bowers, for example. And he was like, that's speculation. I'm not going to get into speculation, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't hear him say hopeful about anybody.
I actually caught the beginning of this, or I saw part of it, and I remembered he got like the question wasn't actually about timetables. It was generally like, I think it was just about Brock Bowers, right? And he went there. It was almost like a little irritated. Like Kirby was a little irritated at the question.
Shocking. The biggest thing that I picked up from media availability today was a quote from Javon Bullard. So I'm just going to read you this, John. So this is just on the rivalry. He said, "This is old-fashioned hate. Georgia, Florida is one of the biggest rivalries ever. It was that way before I got here, and it's going to continue to be that way after I leave. If this game doesn't get you amped up to play football, I don't know what will. It's special. We have a lot of Florida guys on our team. I know it's special for them as well. Me being a Georgia boy, it's damn sure special for me. We have to do whatever we can to come out with the victory."
I love it.
Amazing. So
Georgia boy. If you don't listen to his podcast, Jim, you sent me the link to his little I guess you call it a sit down with Jackson Meeks for their little podcast over on the Players Lounge. But he talked about that as well. He talked about that there's so much hate in this rivalry. He said it's Georgia, Florida, man.
Dude, I love it. Again, to go back to it, like, if you haven't heard our interview with Tate, definitely go check that out. It's cool to hear him talk about that and having a podcast and just getting to have a platform. That's been a really cool thing from NIL. It was really born out of NIL, these guys getting their own shows. But yeah, I've definitely enjoyed listening to Javon as well. They have great conversation.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that's what I had for media availability. So why don't we dive into the Georgia offense, John? What are we looking for when Georgia has the ball? So a couple of things I'll call out, or I'll just rattle off some Florida kind of notable defenders. So their leading tackler is Shamar James, sophomore inside linebacker. He's got 50 total tackles and 1 sack. Devin Moore is a sophomore cornerback. He leads the team with 1 interception. Also only has 1 total tackle. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then their sack leader is a junior edge rusher. And I'm going to butcher his name, John, but his first name is Princely. Princely Uman Milan. I don't know. I need this pronunciation guide, please. But so he's got 3 sacks and 18 total tackles on the year. So just a couple of guys to look out for. My other note on the offense is just for this game. Well, obviously we talked about Brock Bowers, but Carson Beck. So this is a homecoming for Carson Beck. So Carson's from Jacksonville. He graduated from Mandarin High School in Jacksonville, Florida, led them to a state title in the highest high school football classification that they have in Florida. So obviously he's been back there in college, but, first time getting to start in the cocktail
party. He's going to be the
home.
first time starter. I imagine he's going to have a whole bunch of folks in town for this game.
Yeah. I imagine. Hey, he's just got to keep the main thing. I'm sure
that he will. He's Mr. Cool. He's Joe Cool.
Yeah. I mean, the dude is balling out. Georgia ranks 5th in the FBS in yards passing per game with 337 yards per game. That's mainly coming from Carson. I mean, I feel, as we start to look at the numbers more than halfway through the season, the Bobo haters I don't know what they can say at this point.
If you're hating on Bobo, like, which is funny. Like I find those guys every so often, like shout out to Parks Jr. If you're listening to this, Parks, sorry. But he and I had a text exchange with a group from church, and I mentioned to them that I was interviewing. We were going to interview Tate, and he was like, he gave me a bunch of Bobo questions. I was like, Junior, come on, man, you gotta get beyond this. I threw the numbers at him. He goes, all right, fine. If you're gonna throw stats at me, he goes, ask him what his favorite planet is, which I didn't. I totally forgot to ask him what his favorite planet was.
That's funny. We'll have to have him back. To ask him that. Oh man. But I will say, I mean, Florida's defense, pretty good. Like if you look at the numbers, decent statistics. They give up 20 points a game. That's like 37th in college football in the FBS. So they're doing okay on the defense. What are you looking for? I don't know. What are you looking for out of our offense? Obviously, minus Brock Bowers, right?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this lines up, because on paper you look at it and it's like, well, our fairly pedestrian rushing game versus their rushing game, which is also fairly pedestrian. So it's kind of like a toss up,
Mm-hmm.
I imagine we'll probably try to establish the run just as a general operating procedure in this game. The team that usually wins the rushing game usually wins the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Particularly in this game.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember some stats that Gary talked about in the past. But yeah, I mean, I imagine we're probably going to be running the ball to try to set up the run, or running the ball to set up the pass.
I know what
Is
you meant.
what we're gonna be doing. I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm not like I think we'll figure it out. But I think that this is going to be one of those, like, it's going to be really ugly for a while, and we're going to out talent them in the second half kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the offense is probably gonna. It's gonna. I don't know. I don't see how you don't. I guess it also depends on, how Lawson Lucky comes out, if he's going to be out there. If Oscar Delp comes in and balls out. I think he's had he's been kind of hit and miss here.
Yeah,
in my opinion. If Carson can hit those early deep passes kind of thing, if we're going to be off target on those deep balls, it's probably going to be a long day at the beginning of the game for us. It's probably going to be very frustrating. It's kind of what I'm expecting, to be honest with you.
got it. Yeah, I mean, I expect we'll spread the ball around frankly like we have been, right? But Brock has kind of been getting those chunk plays even off the short passes, so that won't be there so much anymore. I am curious. We've been doing so much laterally with Dominic Lovett thus far this season. Curious to see if he gets more vertical, and then I think we'll continue to be vertical with Ra like we have been.
Yeah, I mean,
one thing
that's definitely something that I would love to see more of, is getting vertical with Ra, as I have said in many weeks. I feel like that the Ra situation is kind of like, I don't know. I feel like that a lot of folks have seen it. I've heard it being talked about, but it hasn't really been hyped up a lot in the Georgia circles. I feel like that I'm a part of. Like, nobody really realizes how big he has been.
Yeah.
It's almost like the early like hype and excitement that I had about Dejon Edwards, like from years past. Like, it feels kind of like that. Like, I feel like that he could be the guy if we just fed him some more snaps, which, seems like he's going to have an opportunity to get more snaps. Everybody's going to have a chance to get more snaps, because we're giving up a chunk of them from Bowers. You don't have to replace them. You just have to spread it around to the guys that are producing.
Was it, what was it? What was Kirby's like? I don't know why he brought in like Superman is dead or something, or like he said Superman is dead, but then he was like, there is no Superman. Like you can't replace him with one guy, that kind of stuff, which I agree with. Also, like Rosemy-Jacksaint, right? Like, that would be pretty awesome for him. With his dislocated ankle he had a few years ago when he was a freshman back in 2020. Would love to see him have a big game. And there's a reason why I'm saying that. So I'm going to give you one more thing that I noticed, John, looking at the numbers with these guys. I was trying to figure something else out. So they're 12th. Florida's defense is 12th in FBS in success rate allowed. So they only give up 34% successful plays on defense, which is obviously very good, right? 12th in the country, but they're 85th in the country in yards per play given up. So to me, I said, okay, well, they must be giving up explosive plays, right? And I don't know, maybe Josh can correct me, but from what I looked up, Florida is dead last in college football in the FBS in defensive explosiveness. They're worse. They're the worst team in college football on giving up explosive plays by the metrics. So,
I mean, I'll take that all day long, sir.
Yeah. So, and then we saw that against Kentucky, right? Like, that's how Kentucky beat them. was on big chunk plays. Now those were on the ground. I think we're probably more likely to do it through the air. But we'll just something to watch for me.
Hey man, if this is where our resident cannonball wants to bust an actual long touchdown, I'll take it.
Yep. Agreed. And will we see Kendall Milton? Kirby didn't say that he was hopeful about him, so I don't know. We might see him. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, as long as he's 100%, I'll take him. But if he's not, I think he needs to sit.
Yep, I think that's fair. All right. Anything else? Our offense, their defense, JP?
Speaking of 100%, and talking about the Javon Bullard, I remember that was one of the things that they mentioned when Javon Bullard was talking to Jackson Meeks about, like, you know, taking the off week to heal up or whatever. And Javon Bullard said something that was like kind of, you know, I feel like it's kind of obvious, but like everybody's hurt. Like nobody's physically 100%, but like if you're given 100% out there, so like. Right. Recognizing that when we talk about 100%, it's, are you given 100% effort?
Yeah. Agreed. Before we move on to the defense, just want to remind everyone that season 4 of My God, a Podcast is presented by Oxia Time. So Oxia Time is a custom Swiss watch company. You've got to go check out their Georgia National Championship watch collection from both 2021 and 2022, because John, as we know, what's better than one national championship? 2 national championships in a row. So
what's better than one watch? 2 watches.
That's right. So you got to go check them out. Multiple styles. They've got men's watches. They've got ladies' watches. Each watch comes with a band that you can swap out. I like to wear the NATO band on mine. John, I know you like the stainless steel on yours. But head over to axiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com to check them out. You can use the code MyGottaPodcast to get a presentation box to come along with your watch. We're going to leave it on display in your house. And if you want to double down even more, head over to ClassicCityCollective.com, hit shop UGA timepieces, and you can buy one of the limited edition watches. Same watch we've been talking about, same presentation box, but the presentation box is signed by one Kirby Smart. So pretty excited about the Oxia Time Classic City Collective collaboration as well.
I know it's Halloween, and I know that or Halloween's coming up, and you know, you're getting scared by people that are wearing jorts and all that kind of stuff. But Christmas is coming up, Jim. What do you get? True. The man that has everything? Give him a Kirby Smart signed.
That's right. Timepiece from Oxia Time.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Let's move on to the defense. What are we looking for when Florida has the ball? So some notable players for Florida. So quarterback Graham Mertz.
You mentioned you started out the homecoming for Carson Beck. There's also a couple other players that have homecoming on the defensive side too.
Okay, lay it on the folks, John.
Jordan Hall, noted freshman, which there's been a lot of folks that have been calling for him to get more involved in the defense with our defensive line woes. And then also there's I think he's a reserve, or he's a freshman, but Ali Hall is also from Jacksonville. So there's 2 players from the defensive side that are from Jacksonville.
Cool. So let's see the Florida offense. So they got the quarterback Graham Mertz. He's 223 of 170 for 1,897 yards, 12 touchdowns and only 2 picks. So he's really kind of come on as of late, I would say. Running back, kind of a two back system. So Montrell Johnson is their leading rusher with 438 yards and 85 carries and 4 touchdowns. And then Trevor Etienne, sophomore running back, 407 yards on 69 carries for 3 touchdowns. Similarly, at receiver, leading receiver is Ricky Pearsall, 44 catches for 619 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then Eugene Wilson III is a freshman receiver. He's got 26 catches for 251 yards and a touchdown. So just some guys to look out for from the Gator offense. You know, again, like if you kind of look at the FBS ranks, Florida, kind of, I guess, middle of the pack a little bit there. Georgia defense ranking very high, kind of shaping up like a Georgia defense tends to do. I know, John, we've been talking and texting a bit. I think the Georgia defense is actually kind of like a lot more on track to the past 2 years than folks realize, right? From what you were looking at in the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the stats, like we're actually like on track to hit the same net yards per play as we did last year. And I think the defensive stats, like the actual defensive yards per play, we looked pretty good compared to last year. So our defense is like, I think that the one thing that is probably lacking from the defense is pressure. Like if you were to sum this entire, issue that we have with how our team looks from an eye test, is the lack of pressure coming from the defensive line. If that were to resolve itself, you would be looking at a defense that's on par or better than last year's defense. The problem is that production has not shown its face, which is why I mentioned Jordan Hall, earlier, because I feel like that's one of those things that at some point you have to look at your talent, and you have to say, okay, the guys that we thought were going to produce. I mean, it's kind of similar to how, Stetson Bennett kind of rose to his prominent role in the team. Like he wasn't given the starting job. He wasn't even given the backup job for a stretch there. But then the team kind of looked at what was being produced, and they kind of went with him, right? Like, I think that there's an argument to be made that the kids should get a chance to play, because the interior defensive line is a problem for our team long term. Brinson, Stackhouse, those interior linemen, like those guys have only produced, like, I want to say like 3 pressures in like 100 and something snaps like between them. I mean, that's just not getting it done, dude. Like Graham talked about that. Like he was talking about that on 100 Sanford last week on the bye week, that the pressures are just not coming from the interior line. Those guys are closest to the quarterback, etc. Like, I mean, we just got to get more production out of the defensive line.
Yeah, and it's like you look at that, and you kind of compare, and you're like, what's different, what's missing, and then you turn on Sunday Night Football and you realize that all of those guys are now on the Philadelphia Eagles,
right?
Which is kind of crazy. But no, I mean, I agree.
Well, there's another guy that's giving targeting penalties at USC and costing them the game, but
brutal.
I digress.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But yeah, I don't know. So, what do we do? Like, do we do anything there? That's what I am curious on that, right? So, like, will we see anything different? We had the bye week. Could we see some new faces? Could we see some new pressures? But like, if you talk about like quarterback pressure, I mean, our sack leader is actually Jamon Dumas-Johnson, leads our team in sacks thus far this year with 2.5 sacks. So not a defensive lineman, not even an edge rusher, right? I mean, he's our inside linebacker. So
that's the problem. That's the problem that I've had with this defense all year long. Like, I'm glad that Smile is the leading tackler right now, right?
Yeah.
Earlier in the season, it was like, I think it was either Bullard or Tyke Smith. I can't remember. And you and I had the conversation like, man, that's not good if a cornerback leads the team in tackles. Like, that's just not good.
Right.
So I'm glad to see that at least we're moving towards the football with our leading tacklers. But yeah, like if we can get pressure on the quarterback, I feel like that solves a lot, because then you start getting, sacks, then you start getting, strips and things like that. Because right now, like, I think I'm pretty sure we're neutral in terms of our turnover ratio, if I remember correctly.
We still haven't even, have we gotten a fumble yet? I don't think we have. We got a ton of picks, but
I don't know. I had those stats up the last time we recorded, but I don't have those up right now.
My bad.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I think that we're not doing so hot on the turnover ratio. We're doing better than Florida, because I think, if I remember correctly, we're neutral in terms of turnover ratio, and Florida is like -2 or something like that.
Okay. Got it.
So they're not doing so hot either. but yeah, I if we could start getting pressure on the quarterback, it's gonna solve it would solve a lot of problems. Which hashtag like coaches' wishes, right?
Right. But and I do feel like too, like, I mean, that's kind of been the formula against these guys. I mean, they're two losses, right? I mean, Utah was physical with them and Mertz struggled. Kentucky, same thing, right? And the other theme for those two games is they were not in the swamp. So they've only won one game on the road or outside of the swamp this year. This is their first neutral game, as with us. But their only win on the road was at South Carolina, and they barely won that one. So I, get them outside of the comfort of the swamp. You're going to be, half the stadium's a hostile environment. It's always a hostile environment down there for like both teams. We'll see how Mertz and the offense can operate under that.
Yeah, I would say that what I'm going to be looking for is, they do not have a very good rushing offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're ranked 83rd in the country in terms of yards rushing.
Yep, yards per game. Yep.
It feels like that. What we should be doing is literally just pinning our ears back and just letting loose, because if we can shut down their rush, that really is going to put a lot of pressure on them, because their passing game is not all that great either. They're ranked 32nd in the country in terms of, passing yards per game.
Yeah.
I hope that we're dialing up a lot of blitzing, like just send the house, which frankly, like, it feels like that, like in the Vanderbilt game when we just sent the house, like it feels like that this team just wants to get after it and just, let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah. I mean, I expect us to look, I mean, I don't know. We're going to do what a Kirby Smart defense does, and we're going to stop the run, try to make them one dimensional, and then you can pin yours back. I mean, that's going to be, I would assume that's going to be the game plan against these guys, is what we tend to do. I mean, it's this is Georgia football. It's a line of scrimmage game. And so that's what we're going to aim to do. But yeah, I will say, just like on like the numbers wise and the differentiation, I feel like our defense matches up even better with their offense than our offense does with their defense. Just from what I'm looking at. So we'll see how it plays out.
Are you saying that our defense is the strength in this game?
In this game, might be. It might be.
It looks that way with the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be a chance for the defense to make up some ground in terms of all their statistical categories, the way this thing is shaping up.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. You got anything else there? Because I got a couple of special teams things.
Let's see. All I'll add is, preseason, Carter said that, Graham Mertz, he's like, Graham Mertz is like the worst quarterback ever. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I like that energy, Carter.
I don't need to say sorry, Carter. What do I say? Like, yes, Carter?
Yes, Carter.
Oh man. Love it. Yeah, what? Wisconsin transfer, right? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. He's played well the past couple of games. But like I said, I mean, that last game though, I mean, like South Carolina, kind of falling apart. So
the wheels are falling off at South Carolina. That or Shane's kicking them off. I don't know.
Right. Exactly. All right. So for special teams, John, I have shocking news for you.
Let me guess. There's an Australian on the roster.
Like, at this point, is there any team in the SEC who does not have an Australian punter from Pro Kick Australia?
You know what's funny? I'm going to brag on you for a second here.
Okay.
Jim puts together our prep, quote unquote, which given the automation that you've installed in this document, Jim, I'd say that we're not just winging it like we used to.
I'm pretty proud of the spreadsheet.
I'm giving you your flowers, Jim.
Okay.
Without Jim, we would be there would be a lot more pre-talk. Let's just say that way. I had that thought about the Australian kickers. Like, I feel like that we're like I want to say that it was Les Miles.
Mhm.
He had this guy when he was at LSU, and it was an Australian punter. And I remember the announcers talking about, yeah, he's from Australia. Oh, and he was just like kicking bombs, and we were all just like in awe of this kid.
Yes.
And here now, everybody in the SEC, nothing is unique anymore. Like if you find something that works, everybody's going to copy it, and everybody has an Australian kicker.
It's insane. I mean, and I do remember like before we had Thorson, there was a point where I was kind of like, God,
Why don't we have? When
when
are
are
we
we
going
gonna
to get one?
when are we gonna get an
Exactly.
Australian kicker? And so then like we get him and we're like, oh, like we come up with we're like, he's the booming onion, and like, we've got all these nicknames for him, and then it's like everyone has an Australian kicker. But hey, I don't know. The other kickers get along better with their quarterbacks though. Somehow, I don't know how that works, but
Apparently, yeah. I mean, if he never punts in this game or the rest of the season, I'll consider it a success, and we'll cheers.
agreed, agreed.
Brett Thorson, we would love to have you on the podcast. I've got so many questions.
Oh man. So the Australian punter, his name is Jeremy Crawshaw. Shocking, seems to be pretty good. He averages 47.7 yards per punt. So dude's pretty good. Their place kicker, his name is Trey Smack. So I feel like pretty good name. And he's 11 to 12 on field goals, perfect 14 to 14 on extra points. All right, so here's my fun fact, John. As you're looking, you can see the spreadsheet. You'll notice that the Georgia opponent, opponent's punt returns, Georgia everything is not available. So Georgia is not ranked in the FBS on opponents' punt returns. There are 133 FBS teams. And the site that I used to put all this stuff, they only have 132 teams listed. We're the only one that's not listed. I think it's because Thorson hasn't punted enough times for them to register.
Poor bastard.
So I will say again, though, to the Bobo haters, our punter hasn't even punted enough times for them to do stats on the average punt return yardage from our opponents. So pretty crazy.
We need to have a shirt that says "Sorry, Brett."
Sorry, Brett. Love it. Oh, that would be good. That would be good. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got. Kick it out of the end zone. Oh, swirling winds. As always, we'll gotta.
I was about to say swirling winds based on Hug Dog's video. We saw the winds picking up. Maybe it's not going to be that way on Saturday, but
yeah,
I feel like the winds are always swirling down there.
When you're kicking towards the river, you gotta watch out for that. So that's always something to watch out for down in Jacksonville.
Okay.
All right. Shall we hit the listener questions, John?
Let's.
All right. So as they are every week, the listener questions are brought to you by Working Web Media. So we've talked about how they helped us redesign their website. And I always say that if you go out to workingwebmedia.com/dogs, they will know that we sent you their way. John, I'm going to read off what the website says if you click that link. It says, welcome listeners of My God, a Podcast. Any friend of Jim and John's is a friend of ours. We build websites and run marketing services for small and medium-sized businesses. If your business needs a website, why not reach out to us and have a conversation? Unlike other folks out there, all of our services are subscription-based, kind of like Netflix, and we treat every customer with the sanctity of a Saturday in Athens, unless you're a Florida fan. So obviously, this is a great company to work with. So head on over there, read that for yourself, give them a call, set up a meeting with them, and they can help you with your online presence if you got a small business. All right.
Love it.
Okay. First up, Aaron King. Knowing Kirby, I have a feeling our defense shows a lot of improvement after the bye week. Who do you see stepping up the rest of the season on the defensive side of the ball? I mean, I always if it's just stepping up and I can cheat. I mean, I still feel like Bullard. So Bullard is a guy for me. Had injury early on, and to your point, John, of listening to him talk this week and talking about getting closer to whatever 100% means at this point in the season. He's a guy I'm still really excited about.
Yeah, I mean, Tyke Smith. He's definitely we've seen him all season long, and we've all kind of rant and raved about a finally healthy Tyke Smith. Like he's finally back to his old self, kind of pre-transfer, where he was when he was at West Virginia.
Yeah.
I would say that Smile Mondan, I would say that I really am looking for him to step up, because I just feel like that he's the I don't know. I have felt that Smile had everything that Nolan Smith was in him. I'm just waiting to see it, and I feel like that it's there. Maybe he's been banged up, I don't know, but he's taken over the the leading tackler, and he's only a half sack behind Jim Dumas Johnson for sack leader as well. So I don't know. I'm looking for him.
Okay. Nice. Let's see. Bobby Wilson. What is the best go-to cocktail for the world's largest outdoor cock party tailgate next Saturday, and why?
The world's largest what, Jim?
The world's largest outdoor cocktail party. What did I say? Did I not say it right?
I'll let everybody rewind that one.
Oh, is Scott gonna make fun of me again?
Probably. Oh, that was fun.
Okay.
We're not playing South Carolina, right? I would say that my go-to cocktail is what I'm drinking today, is the old fashioned. I mean, that's a go-to cocktail for me.
Okay, so I'm gonna cheat as well. I love the revolving door, but to mix it up a little bit, for if you're down there, I'm gonna, like, this isn't my real answer, but I'll tell you, when I was in college and I went to the Landing, what was I getting, John?
Bourbon and Coke?
A Hurricane.
Ah,
do you remember in the huge, like in a clear football glass?
Okay, I was gonna say it was in the clear football glass, but they also had Jack and Cokes that you could get in that thing too. And Tyler and I would get Jack and Cokes.
Okay. I always got the Hurricane in that thing. You're gonna be shocked to know this, John. I have one of those somewhere in my house. It was like my piggy bank. I used to throw my spare change in my beer cocktail glass from the Landing. So
of course, and if you don't send a picture drinking from it this weekend, I'm going to be mad.
Well, I'd have to wash it if I find it, because I'm pretty sure it's still filled with change. I don't think I ever did anything with it. I'll look for it. Okay, second question from Bobby: how many more years will Florida continue to suck and underachieve?
So forever.
I couldn't even get the question. Yeah, seriously. I mean, they're the Gators. Obviously, they're gonna continue to suck.
Infinite. I mean, Graham posted this random picture of like something that he saw in the ocean when he was I can't remember. I think he was in North Carolina or something. But he said, "What is this?" And my first instinct was to respond with, "It's the toilet bowl that Florida flushed its program down after Meyer left."
Jeez. Yeah, seriously.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna level set with everybody on this one. Like, we are in the good old times. Kirby Smart is the GOAT. I'm sure Florida thought that their time was going to last forever, and it didn't, because when he leaves, and it's eventually Kirby Smart is going to retire. Maybe not 20 years from now he'll retire or something like that. But every dynasty has its, every great coach has his end, and it's usually the ones that afterwards that have the hardest time catching that lightning in a bottle again. And as a Manchester United fan, Jordan, I know you're laughing right now, but Chris is probably crying along with me. But as a Manchester United fan, we lost our great coach, and it has sucked ever since. And Bama fans, it's coming for you too, because Saban's in the twilight of his career. Like every period after a great coach, I don't know of any like sports team where a great coach retired or moved on or whatever that didn't suck for a long time.
Right. Yeah, I like it.
But hopefully they suck for an even longer time than normal.
Yeah,
Bobby.
Yes, agreed. Let's see. Do our beloved dogs win big and take a lot of positive momentum into the meat of our schedule? Y'all know I think so. Bobby, we'll get to our predictions in just a moment. Coming up.
Yes.
Let's see. Rodeo dog fan. Who Who's the worst fan base in the SEC, and why is it always Florida?
It's always Florida because they wear jorts. They wear jorts and they play. Well, this is kind of alluding to another question. They play silly music that has nothing to do with alligators.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
I would say I think Tennessee kind of reminded us that they can give them a run for their money. The last couple of years when they came out of their shell. But yeah, Florida fans, man, even and like online too on Twitter, they're the worst. Like whatever, like go away.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty close between Tennessee and Florida, but
yeah,
Florida they've been really quiet though. So I'll say this to answer Rodeo's question. Like you want them to suck forever because much like with the Tennessee fans, as soon as they start catching fire again, or
yes.
even if it's for like a hot moment, like all of a sudden you're going to see all the sweatshirts and all of the license plate tags and flags. Like you're going to all of a sudden see them coming out of the woodwork because they've been hibernating for so long because they are awful.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Totally right.
That's exactly when these orange teams are good, man. They're awful. That extends to Auburn as well, by the way.
Yes. Orange is bad. All right, 51-7 GATA. Where were you when the touchdown celebration happened in 2007? And what was your first thoughts of it? He said, I was in the upper deck asking myself, will anyone be kicked out of the game? Do you remember where you were?
I don't actually. I know that it was, so 2007 was when Carly was born. So I had to have been at the house just chilling.
Yeah, I was at home. Here's how I remember it. I'm not 100% sure. So let's see. So Ella would have been like 1. So we had like a 1-year-old. We were definitely at our house. We were still in Georgia back then. So we were in Alpharetta. I believe my sister was over at our house with Greg. And I just remember like we did. So we were at home watching TV, right? And so it's like, it starts to happen. You're like, oh, there's a lot of guys running onto the field. And then they went to the blimp shot overhead. You see, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then I remember, was it Gary? Was it already Gary back then? Because I knew it was Vern. Was it Vern? I think it was already Gary, right? Because I remember like he just went into this whole thing. He's like, this was planned. This was planned.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I did my my thought was, oh my gosh, there's going to be a fight. I think that was my first thought. I thought there was going to be a fight.
Yeah. I feel like I remember, I don't know why, but I feel like that in my head, I'm thinking back like Lindsay asking, like my wife asking, are they allowed to do that?
Oh man. Like I still can't believe it happened. But it did give us the great Mark Richt gif. You could read his lips. He was clapping and he said, all right, let's have some fun in this place. Because that place had been a house of horrors. And I mean, that it worked. It worked.
It worked for that year. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked for that year. Fair enough. All right, let's see. I've got some questions kind of bracketed off around Brock Bowers' absence. So this is the Brock Bowers segment of the listener questions. Rick Patton, do you think with Brock out, this may be the spark that we need? So I'm thinking like maybe folks get fired up.
I don't know how many folks are looking for sparks when their best player goes down.
Yeah,
in the worst stretch of games.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I honestly, I just feel like they're just going to be, and it's not even like this next man up, really. It's just like we have who we have, and we're going to go out there, and play. I haven't heard the next man up stuff so much from the team.
I'm looking for Lawson Lucky, man. Like that kid very much has been like Brock Bowers was when he first broke out onto the scene. Like there's been a lot of hype. There was a lot of noise about him preseason. He participated. You know what I mean? Like is he going to get more snaps? Is he going to feature more? I don't know what happened in the week off, but like they're not moving away from the 2 tight end sets. So like I have a feeling that we're going to see. Either he's going to slot in and play that role or a part of it, because I believe all the scouting report and everything that Graham has indicated that this guy's as good of a blocker maybe not quite, but as Darnell Washington. So like, can he slot in and play that Darnell Washington role that we've talked about missing for so long? So like, maybe it's not production, maybe it's just roles coming in that open up things for other players, that kind of stuff. We've got the talent. We've got these guys. I mean, I think that out of all of the top teams in the country in terms of offensive output, we've got more receivers with catches than anybody else in the country. So yeah, I don't know that it's a spark. I just think that maybe it's a spark for someone else to step up.
Sure. So you went into one. So All School did ask, will this be the week we see Lawson Lucky have an impact? So you just mentioned him. So obviously you think yes. I actually think so too. And All School asked, is he fully recovered? And my understanding is yes. Like my understanding is he was actually recovered and ready to go health-wise before he started playing. It was more like he's a freshman and the conditioning type ish, stuff going on there because he missed fall camp. But as far as his injury, yes, that's our understanding. And he had the same surgery that Brock had. So that can, maybe give us a little bit of a window into what Brock's looking at there. And then Dwight asked over under on throws to the tight end position in this game with the absence of Bowers. I don't know. I'd say 3.5. 5. So you take the over on 3.5. Okay, we'll go with that.
I'll take the over.
And then so Fletcher asked 2 questions, but one of them was about Brock. So I'm going to hit his second question. He said, won't we just use the Brad Pitt Moneyball approach to replacing Brock? Instead of Delp needing to cover 18 touches, give Delp 4 to 5, Dom an extra 2 to 3, Rob 3 to 4 more, Ladd 3 to 4 more, etc. Right, with Bell and MRJ spread it around. I totally agree. You're not going to get that from one guy.
I agree.
All right,
and I think of all of those guys mentioned there, there's more than enough to work with.
Agreed. Will McConkey get back on his donkey this week?
Yeah,
John?
McConkey. He's getting into shape too. Like we've kind of thought that he was not on his. I don't think that he was at 100%.
Yeah.
Like,
McConkey, he got on his donkey.
Sorry, I can't. I couldn't resist it. Okay,
love it.
Let's see. Okay, John Michael D. Any hashtag inside sources on Sammy maybe not loving what's going on in Clemson? So yeah, I don't have any inside sources. I have not heard. Haven't talked to his grandma. Although I did see another cousin of the same like level, the same Sammy's first cousin. We saw him at the Kentucky game. So Sammy does have a first cousin who is a sophomore at Georgia, and this is side of the family. Like I don't know them very well, but I recognized him like from Facebook, and so I yelled out his name, and he walked by our tailgate, John, Kentucky game. This may have been when you had gone to dog walk, but because my sister and I were sitting down, we saw him walk by and we chatted with him.
I was about to say, because if I'd have known that, I would have been all over that.
Yeah. So, but no, I haven't heard anything. But all I'll say is I wouldn't get your hopes up. He's going to Clemson. And then he said, am I
Have
the
fun.
only? Yeah. No, orange. It's orange. They're orange. They're bad.
Have fun.
Which leads us to, am I
Dead
the
to
only
me.
one who trained kids from the earliest ages to hate these nasty, ugly, wretched, slimy, sneaky offer gators? My 2-year-old on cue can tell you gators eat pooters. Yes, we all did that. I did that too.
Yes, we all did that. Matter of fact, I've had Jim, as you probably have experienced, like the teenagers get to the point where they're talking about boys, and I'm like, so what is their family? Are they Georgia folks? Like, what are they? And like, if any mention of gators, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you can't hang out with them.
That's no bueno.
Like, why not, Dad? Come on.
Yeah, Ella. I remember Ella came home from school once, and she was like, "There's this girl that was like wearing a Florida sweatshirt," and I was just like, "Whatever." just like getting mad at like seeing the sweatshirt in school. That was years ago, but anyway.
Amazing.
So yes, definitely trained our kids that way. Let's see. All right, Walt Dog NC. During your college years, where was the strangest place you slept at the world's largest outdoor cocktail party? And how many people were in one room? See, I don't know. I went every year. I don't think I have any. I don't have anything like earth shattering, because we were usually like at a hotel. But there was one time where we went down because we always had, I think it's still the same way, right? It's like fall break is that week, right? So like you get out of school early, you head down for a few days. And I remember one time we went down like St. Augustine first or something and then came back. I don't remember what we did. But we were with like our friend's cousin. We were staying like our friend's cousin's house. And I just remember, I'm not gonna name him, but I just remember he was all like, guys, like we gotta like behave because like, my cousin is like an adult and like we can't be like all crazy at his house and all this stuff. We're like, okay, fine. And then like he was the one that was like hammered and like being an idiot in front of his family. Whereas we all like behaved. So I don't know. That's probably mine. Yeah, the rest of them were usually just staying like at some random hotel in Jacksonville or something.
I went 3 times. One time we stayed in St. Simon's. One time, and we like bust down. One time we stayed at a Days Inn, which was probably like the most enjoyable time because it was like, I mean, it wasn't anywhere near the stadium. I remember Tyler, I think, found this hotel, and like we stayed at the Days Inn, like so far away. I don't even remember how far away it was, but we had so much fun. That was probably the most enjoyable one.
Okay.
But then there was another one where I crashed with like 15 other people in an Omni room. Like we just slept on the floor.
Yeah. College.
Yeah. It was one of those situations where like at any point the personnel, like the hotel staff would come in and you'd all be just like kicked out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like that's one of those games though that like that's one of those weekends where like if you're a normal person staying at one of those hotels, I don't even know, is the Omni still there? I don't even know.
I don't know.
But like there was 2 hotels. There was one was the Omni, and I want to say the other one was
they were over the ones that were like over by the landing kind of.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean they were like right next to the landing or the stadium. I can't remember.
It was like in between the landing and the stadium. It was like halfway.
Yeah. Anyway, I just remember like there were so many kids in those hotels. Like if you're an adult that was staying in those hotels, and you were trying to get sleep, like just God bless you kind of thing.
Yeah, seriously. All right, I like this. He also said, and for the game, hashtag Delp a brother out will be clutch. So I like that. That was good. Delp a brother out.
Delp a brother out. Okay.
I like that.
I like that. That's a good hashtag.
Let's see. Our buddy Dwight, who was our guest in the most recent episode. Closer game, Georgia, Florida, or Georgia, Mizzou? I don't know. Yeah, Mizzou. That offense is they're cooking. They're cooking. Bubby Dean, is attraction to the color orange an official mental disorder? Yes,
as we've discussed already. Like there's just something about the orange.
Should reptile mascots be banned by the SEC? And what is the best tailgate whiskey and why is it Crown Royal? Hashtag Go Dogs.
I told him I need to re-up my winter wheat because it's getting to be like winter season. If you've never had winter wheat Crown Royal, like you should try it. It's definitely, I would say that like as John has described, I haven't had, well, I take that back. I have had Midwinter's Dram. But I didn't have it at Christmas time. So that's probably the key there. But at Christmas time, I had the winter wheat 2 years in a row now, and it was really good. That was like my Christmas drink if I didn't have like Weller 12 readily available. But John has always said that Midwinter's Dram is like Christmas in a bottle. But I'm a fan of the winter wheat Crown Royal. Not that I'm not a fan of the regular Crown Royal, but like if I'm sipping it, like that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. I don't know, man. I'm not knowledgeable about whiskey, so I'll defer to you on that one.
The best tailgate whiskey, I mean, you can't go wrong with Weller Special Reserve. Like that's just
yeah.
I feel like
I guess so. We're going with bourbon.
I feel like that's the whole crew. That's the whole crew's go-to whiskey.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Hushton Rich has a topic. This is a question. What's your favorite Georgia win in the cocktail party? He said, for me, I'm old enough to remember Lindsey Scott play, and that's when I became a Georgia fan, even though I was living in Illinois at the time. Do you have one that stands out? because I have a few for me personally. Like there's a few that stand out to me.
Can't just pick one.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
90s.
the FTMF victory for
Yeah,
me was like very, very meaningful.
that was
It was also the moment that I realized that our coach was just like us,
yeah,
and that he was going to be around for forever,
yeah,
as long as he possibly could do this.
yeah, yeah. So my 1997 holds a special place for me. That was the first time we had beaten them in a long time. And like my sister was at the game because she was a student at Georgia. My parents were out of town, and like I was home alone watching that game. That was incredible. So that one's there for me. And then '04, because '04 is the only time I've ever seen us beat them in person. So those are up there for me. Not quite as meaningful, weren't in as meaningful of seasons as say like 2021. But those are up there for me.
Oh,
Let's
I can
see.
understand that.
Brett Belding has a two-parter, as is now tradition. One, what's your favorite cocktail party game? Oh, there we go. We just answered that. Sorry, Brett. Yeah, his is a favorite in person, on TV, or in history, etc. So I guess we just hit those ones. And then why does Florida's band play Jaws when they're the Gators and not the Sharks? We've all been trying to figure this out for years.
Yeah, seriously, I don't understand that one. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Like, did they think it was clever when they're and like, this is like a major question for Brett, who was in the Redcoats, right? Like, and he does not understand how one could even come up with such an idea. Like, I don't like how who thought this was a good idea?
I'll go one further on you on that theory or whatever. But like, how about the teams that say like Florida and LSU are perfect examples.
Mhm.
They're always like gator bait and tiger bait. Like,
Right.
that's isn't bait what you lay out to kill something?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I never got that either.
Idiots.
Let's see. Benjamin, how many times will Gary mispronounce Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint?
Oh my gosh, it's a weekly occurrence now. It's not like, the desperate to score. It's like the announcer's desperate to say his name.
I will say, like, Brad Nessler can't even get it right either.
No.
In Gary's defense. So here's my question: who's going to say it wrong more times, Brad or Gary?
I would say Brad at this point, because
I feel like Brad has a harder time with it than Gary.
Yeah,
does.
seriously, dude. I think that Gary gets an over-indexed amount of hate from our fans. Like, hey, well, I guess we for sure have one more here, but
Right.
Gary's going away very soon, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss it. So Fletcher's other question was, Jacksonville is great, but how about we start doing neutral site versus USC Junior in Charleston, or UT in Dalton or Chattanooga? Where else would you want to visit for a weekend that happens to have a Georgia game involved?
Like a regular SEC game, because
like
I think we've covered that a little bit. Like, I've always wanted to go to Utah for looking at Logan's games at BYU or whatever. But
yeah, my boring answer is I kind of like it when we play in the Georgia Dome. Or sorry, I said the Georgia Dome in Mercedes Benz.
Spoken like a true pack rat.
I as someone who doesn't live in Georgia anymore and doesn't get back to Atlanta much, I don't mind those games. Like, I love the game against Oregon. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was fun.
I mean, it's fun. It's fun to play in Atlanta for sure. But like, as far as like where you'd want to go, like if Atlanta, live a little, Jim. Like, if Atlanta wasn't,
I mean, if it's non-conference,
go?
For me, like non-conference game, it's Michigan or Washington. Those are the two for me.
Michigan or Washington. Okay. Yeah. I like it. I'm trying to think. Let's put a little spin on this question. Like, if it was a conference game, like not a non-conference game.
Yeah. So a conference game.
If it was a conference game, like where would you want to go for like a neutral site, like, conference game?
Yeah. I mean, Florida and Macon.
Amazing. I see. Like, I'm thinking, like, how far away is Columbia from like St. Louis?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Like,
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know Midwestern geography, John.
I don't know. I'm gonna do a quick search. That's an hour and 53 minutes away. That's doable.
Yeah, I mean that's like an hour and 15 or 50.
Hour and 53 minutes. It's
Okay.
2 hours. It's like a 2-hour drive from Columbia. This is where Tony and those guys are like, I know the answer to this question. Yeah, like, I mean, I look at that, like, I mean, we've got Texas and Oklahoma coming in pretty soon, so like you start looking at things like Dallas.
Yeah. I don't know that I so much want to do that. Like, I don't want to have another neutral site. I don't know that I want a neutral site in their state. I guess that'd be my only thing there. Like, what if you met Texas in the middle and played them like in Louisiana, like in New Orleans or something? Like that could be cool.
Nolans, yeah,
that would be cool.
That'd be cool. I don't know. The Charleston thing is kind of cool, but like, where would you play?
Yeah, I don't know. The Citadel.
That's funny. Yeah, that's never gonna happen. Oh man, yeah. I mean, there's a couple of different options. I think Chattanooga is cool. I mean, Chattanooga is an easy drive for us in Atlanta, but like, I don't know where you're gonna play.
Right.
The problem is there's just like some cool places that you could think of, but like, the stadiums are just not
right. They have the stadium to hold the game.
Yeah, you have to have a stadium.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean,
let's see.
Tennessee. If we have to play at Tennessee rather than playing at Tennessee, play in like Titan Stadium. I don't know.
We should have played. That's where we should have played Vanderbilt.
There we go. Yeah, there you go.
Instead of their high school stadium.
Exactly.
All right, friend of the show, Tim Riley. Who do you see stepping up on the defense this week against them lousy, stinking Gators? I guess I don't know. Anyway, I'll give one name that we hadn't mentioned thus far. Marvin Jones Jr. I feel like he's been kind of coming on. He's looked good when he's gotten into the game. Curious to see if we see more of him after the bye week. So he's one other name I'll throw out.
I think we on the defensive side.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Jordan Hall. Like I've said it already on the podcast, but Jordan Hall is I really need the interior of that defensive line to step up for what is about to be the run in for the championship run.
Okay. All right. Last but not least, the Hug Dog, Jason Huggins. If the Dogs win the rushing battle, does that ensure the win? I think you mentioned that because I know Gary talks about that a lot. I think yes, I believe so.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment.
And then what's a better sight for Dogs fans in the fourth quarter? A 15% full Florida section in Jacksonville or a 15% full Neyland?
This year or in general? This year it would be 15% full Neyland, but in general, like if you were to ask me like in the history, I would say 15% full Florida.
I don't know. I almost wonder technically is the answer Florida this year because Florida only has one conference loss thus far. Tennessee has two. So I'm going to go Florida. Yeah.
I mean, if you, that's why I say like this year, because of all of this, the smack talk that Tennessee has given us about coming into Neyland. And I don't know. I just feel like I haven't heard a whole lot. Like my Florida fans have really been quiet, probably about as quiet as I have been to my Liverpool fans in the soccer game.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I haven't heard much. I haven't heard a peep from my Florida friends
like
either.
Florida Twitter is non-existent right now, which is exactly what you're looking for if you're a Georgia fan.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, like, from a historical perspective, like, having literally half of the stadium celebrating and the other half like gone, is amazing from a historical perspective. But this year, like, I would say probably 15% full Neyland would just be like
okay, perfect. We'll go with that. Although I'm gonna in a rare My God a Podcast disagreement, I'm gonna go Jacksonville. So
I like it.
All right. Are you ready, John?
Let's do it.
Oh my God! Trying to put glasses on it.
It is time for coaches over unders. And John, I snuck it in there. I don't know if you heard the soundboard edition that I finally got to.
I loved it. I did notice.
All right, coaches over unders Florida edition. Let's see. I still retain the lead, so I choose first. I will go first.
I like how you slow walk that one.
Well, I had to think because like we didn't have a review episode, this week, and I was like, wait, did Coach send us? I'm like, oh, he didn't have anything to send us because there was no game this week. So I was actually couldn't remember. That's why it was slow. That was me thinking.
Amazing.
All right, I'll go first. I like his abbreviations, CB15. So Carson Beck, over under 275 yards passing. I'm going to go over.
I'm also going to go over.
All right. DE30, Dejon Edwards, over under 105 yards rushing.
Over.
Oh man, I want it to be over, but do I disagree? See, this is where like, what if I say, does what I say have any impact? I'm gonna go under. I think as a team we get over a lot, but Dejon will go under. For me, over under 7.5 players with a reception. I'm gonna go over.
It's a good line. I'll go over.
Okay.
It's a good line though.
It is. I agree. Let's see. Defense, over to you. Over under 250 yards passing for Florida.
I'll go over.
Okay. I'm gonna go under. And then my turn, over under 150 rush yards for Florida. I'm gonna go under.
I'm also gonna go under.
Okay. Over to you. Over under 2.5 sacks for the Georgia defense.
Really good line. Oh man, I really want to say over, but I'm gonna go under.
Okay. I'm gonna say over. Ha ha ha. And then special teams, over under 2.5 field goals attempted by Georgia. This is a good one too. I'm gonna go under.
I'm gonna also go under.
Okay. And then Coach told us he had one lined up for the last cocktail party with the CBS crew. Gary Danielson, over under 1.5 Tebow references.
Over.
Agreed. Smash the over on that one. Got to go out with a bang on that one for Gary.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. Thank you as always to Coach Chilbill for setting the over unders and tracking the results for us as well.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot. Like this actually is going to be like the last time if they're contractually obligated or whatever. Unless I guess the SEC championship game, assuming obviously we're going to get there, but like this could be the last regular season Gary Daniels. This is the last regular season Gary Danielson. Yeah,
because even though we're on CBS with Missouri, it's going to be like the B team.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
We're
going to get the B team. Ugh.
Yeah, you're right. I kept saying the last cocktail party with them, but you're right. Should be the last regular season game with them. Mm-hmm. That's sad. I hate everything. I hate everything.
Is there no other like question we can ask that like I'm sorry to end it on a negative note.
We can flip that around when we go to our predictions. But yeah, no, right. It is weird. I don't like it. And the fact that the music is staying with CBS and going to the Big Ten is just wrong.
Yeah, it's just awful. Like enjoy that music with Rutgers versus Northwestern or whatever.
Yeah, seriously. All right. So prediction time. Let's see. CBC R2 Sam has Georgia winning this game 32.5 to 16.5. So shout out to Ross Rutledge. Even though I think I made Ross mad with my spreadsheet joke on Twitter for the weekend. I wasn't even so much a joke, but Ross, I wasn't talking about you. Did you see his reply to me? It was pretty amazing.
I don't think I saw it. No.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. So I said something like, so I was who was it? There was another like Dan Lanning. I felt like went to it too often on fourth down. It was Heupel.
You're talking about the fourth down, yeah. Heupel, like there was a bunch.
Yeah, mine was about like analytics guy saying that it's right to go for it, kind of thing. And I'm like, sometimes I just kind of feel like I don't care about the analytics. Like you just need to not go for here. And so it was when Heupel had like tried and failed again. And I said, coaches are going to lose their jobs because a guy in a spreadsheet told him to go for it in fourth down. And Ross said something about like, he said something about like the guys that know Python are like way better than the spreadsheet bro anyways. And I was like, okay, fair.
That's great.
It was good. So anyways, Let's see. Looking at Odd Shark, the dogs are favored by 14.5. And the over under is 49. So that gives an implied score of Georgia 31.75 to Florida 17.25. Their predicted score at Odd Shark is Georgia 44.1 to Florida 30.7. John, I added the CFB Nerds model because I know we've been intrigued by that one. They've got the dogs 39.7 to 12.5. And something I brought back this week that we were doing last week, we didn't have enough data really until now, but looking at the scoring impact. So this basically takes what Georgia does to their opponents in relation to their average output against the Power Five. So Georgia is scoring on average 3 more points against teams than they tend to allow against the Power Five. And Georgia is holding teams to 9 points fewer than their average scoring against the Power Five. So if you apply that to Florida's averages, that gives the dogs 28.27 to 17.56. So with all that analysis there, John, what are you thinking here? Or do I need to go?
I don't know. I guess you go first.
So like my score actually I actually feel like the implied score is like right on, which I know is super boring, but like because I had looked at some of the other
the Odd Shark implied score.
Just the implied score of the line. Like I was actually thinking like 31 to 17 is kind of what I was thinking.
Oh wow. Okay.
But that's like right on with there. I could see it being kind of tight. I could see it being tight, and maybe it's a later score and we pull away in fourth quarter.
So Jim, what's your say?
What's my say?
Yeah.
FTMF?
No, I mean like what's your score?
Yeah. No, I had already come up with 31. I hadn't looked at the line yet.
Okay.
So 31 to 17 is my pick.
31-17 is your pick. Got it. Locked in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 34. I'll go 34-20.
34-20. Okay.
21, something like that. Yeah, 21, 34-21.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. You know, like I said earlier, like they haven't they've won one game outside of the swamp. That was against South Carolina. I mean, I think they're good. Let me ask you this. Is this the best team we played this far this year, do you think? I mean, I know they got their butts kicked by Kentucky. We played Kentucky, but that was at Kentucky.
I don't think I don't know. I don't think it's the best team that we've played in general. Like,
okay.
But there's definitely I mean the implied score here, like the 31-17 that you've got there, even like the college football nerds, the 40-12, like I could easily see this game getting out of hand really quickly, particularly if chips fall where they need to fall from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah.
You could be looking at the best defensive performance of the season for the Georgia Bulldogs if things can, pan out the way that they pan out. I'm hoping that they've been in the lab working out how they're going to get pressure on the quarterback this go around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could easily see a blowout here based on all the stats, all the, the offense versus our offense versus their defense, their offense versus our defense. So like,
yeah.
I'm with you. I could easily see it being a blowout, but my score prediction being, above what the opponent is, statistically showcasing is just based on the body of work that I've seen us produce thus far. And until they can show me different, that's where I've got to go with it.
Okay.
A closer game than I'd like it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. What a time when, like, you're like closer than I'd like it to be, and you've got us winning by 13 points.
Right.
So, all right, cool. If the dogs win, we're getting pretty close to Miami of that streak, John. So we're at 19 straight weeks at the AP poll number 1. Keep it going. We're about to catch Miami. I think theirs was 22 straight weeks at number 1 in the AP poll. So marching towards that still. So looking around the country.
It's the Kirby Death March.
Yeah. I love it. It got mentioned about like the meat of the schedule. I mean, this is where, for all the talk of the easy schedule, it's taken a serious turn with the level of degree of difficulty is going up from here on out for sure. So
Do we know what's the strength of schedule rankings now?
I don't know, but like no one other than you were high on Missouri in the offseason, and we're kind of pointing to that all year. I mean, frankly, like we didn't think Florida would only have 2 losses by this point, right? I mean, pretty sure felt like we thought they would have more than 2 by this point. So,
Right.
this back half of the schedule is a lot more difficult than folks thought it was going to be. So,
ranked 95.
and strength of schedule.
Yeah.
I expect that number to come down by the end of the year, but we'll see.
We'll see. South Carolina has the toughest schedule in the country.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, they're playing mainly the teams we play. Whatever.
I know. Seriously, Alabama has the third ranked schedule in the country. Ole Miss number 5, LSU number 6. Like what? Wait, what?
Yeah,
How
that is
all
kind
these
of
teams
weird.
from the West?
Yeah, that is weird. I don't know. Looking at the games around the country, I mean, the main one that jumps out to me is Oregon, Utah, and that's going to be at the same time as our game. So,
Okay.
pretty sure game day is going there. Not that we really watch it anymore, but I know you're definitely not watching because your boy Pat McAfee blocked you, right? Or did he block you?
He did block me.
What did
I
he
have
do?
no idea. I have never mentioned him like at all in like I never mentioned him on Twitter at all, but I got blocked somehow. I'm like, what?
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems to be a
all
thing.
I can say is he exported Herb Street's block list because I have been blocked by Herb Street for adding him. That was years ago though, like years ago. I want to say like it had to have been like at least 10 years ago that he blocked me.
I don't follow Herb Street anymore because he annoys me on Twitter. So
Yeah,
but I used to really like him, but whatever.
I did. Yeah, he's really soft. All I can say is if you, I think Bobby posted a screenshot that he got blocked too. Like if you mention anything at all negative about this guy, he blocks you, and that's exactly what Herb Street did.
That's too funny. Well, yeah. So I don't know. I'll probably have a TV over to the side for Oregon, Utah. But that's the only like top 25 or top 2 teams in the top 15 or whatever matchup going on this weekend. So
dude, can I like for just 1 second talk about the Utah game?
Yeah.
When they played, I think they played USC this past weekend, right?
Yeah.
Like John pointed this out, and I did not notice this because I was watching like the tail end of that game. He was talking about Kyle Willingham, the way that he was slowing down those teams. I'm wondering if like anybody has like taken notes on that, because Tennessee was, we got Tennessee on the schedule, right? And we're all talking about like, oh, like the way that you slowed these teams down is like fake injuries and things like that. But like the way that he was doing it was like he was taking every opportunity he could whenever they substituted by bringing out his like biggest interior defensive lineman. He was just like rotating those guys in and out every time USC substituted. He was just slow walking those guys out to the point where like they would substitute and then he would, they have to give you the chance to substitute, and he would wait to the last possible moment to substitute his lineman out, and the referee's literally standing over there and there's like 5 seconds left on the play clock. And they had to call timeouts, and I thought I never noticed that, but it was amazing.
I didn't notice it like to the degree of the video that John pointed out. I mean, like Georgia does that, but not like that. Like this was like a masterclass in how to do it.
Yeah,
seriously. Because like the guy who's on the field who's getting subbed out, he waited until the guy like reached him, and it was like it was like tap out kind of thing, and then he left the field. Like they didn't pass each other. Like exactly. The guy waited like right by the ball. It was pretty amazing. So
like, I got to wait for him to come off the field.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. So
they got hosed, by the way. Oh my gosh,
who got hosed?
No, it wasn't Utah. Who
Iowa. You're thinking of Iowa.
Yeah. They got hosed.
So my only question on that play was that flag not thrown on the field? Like, was that reviewed and then they added that review?
No,
or
I don't think it was a reviewable play.
Well, I don't know. I heard something on Split Zone Duo about them reviewing it. So I don't know if they reviewed it to confirm it or something, but
I don't
I
think
wouldn't
that's
assume it was.
I don't think that's a reviewable play. I
I mean,
actually think it was bull. I think it was bull crap because how many like Georgia like players like when whenever those Australian kickers kick their kicks and they get the friendly rolls like they're waving their hands like this.
but how many
Like
times did they then?
I feel like he was pointing and doing the same thing. Like he was trying to show his players where it was and moving his hand
I don't disagree with you.
horizontal, not vertical.
I don't disagree with you, but the ruling wasn't that he made a fair catch signal. It was that he made an invalid fair catch signal, which that's a difference.
What? Like,
That's
is
a
that even what's
that
an
is
invalid fair catch signal?
exactly that's the rule. So
What is
so
that?
basically, if you do something that's kind of like in between, basically. So the reason that rule is there is so that you can't like trick someone and like do your hand sideways like a low fair catch and then catch it and then you get hit and like, oh, I did a fair catch, right? Like that's why that rule is there. It
So if
wasn't.
any,
It's
so if anybody does this, like that was usually the universal sign.
I agree. I agree. That's where I feel like it's weird. But usually when you're doing that, you don't pick the ball up, which I'm not saying, that he shouldn't have. Obviously he should. I mean, I think it's a horrible way to end the game or that cost him the game, but I'm not sure. I love piling on refs, but I'm actually not sure that was wrong, to be honest with you. So
I'm piling on refs.
I think by the letter of the rule, they actually applied that rule correctly. But because again, they didn't say he signaled for a fair catch. They just said he did an invalid fair catch, that's the difference. But whatever.
I feel like I don't know. You remember the Super Bowl where the Dallas Cowboy guy kind of came in like last minute and tried to pick up the like when everybody thought that the game was going to be like over and he like tried to pick up the ball and it ended up like touching it.
Oh,
I don't know.
I know what game you're talking about. It wasn't Super Bowl, but was it?
It wasn't a Super
yeah.
Bowl?
Oh, yeah, maybe
I
it
thought it
was.
was a Super Bowl. I don't
It
know.
was like Leon Lett is the one that I always think of. But
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of. I don't know.
well, what are you doing on Saturday? You gonna have a cocktail party at home?
I don't know. Neighbor, I think I texted you. My neighbor that I usually watch the games with, he's going out of town for a lacrosse tournament.
Oh yeah,
So he's going to be in your neck of the woods.
yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what we're going to end up doing. Right now, I was sick yesterday, I was sick the last couple of days. And so I haven't even really thought about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I haven't either. Sometimes it's like falls on Halloween. We got Halloween early next week, so we don't have that going on. I don't know. We've got kid activities going on, so I don't know. I may just be on the back porch eating bean dip, watching it.
Nice. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Lindsay, fortunately, is done with her fall photo sessions. I don't think she has any sessions for like the next 10 days or something like that. So it should
Nice.
be a pretty clear afternoon for us.
Nice. Cool. All right. Well, another installment of the cocktail party. Last one was CBS as the broadcast crew. So soak that up. Enjoy Brad and Gary.
I do like Brad.
I do.
Yeah, Brad's great.
Yeah. So I'll be soaking that up personally. So, but yeah, man. No. We'll just have to get after it. FTMF.
FTMF and go dogs.
Go dogs.